So you're ready to have your custom-made jewelry produced, whether that's samples or an actual order. Well done, and congratulations for coming this far in creating your jewelry designs. So the next big question is, where and how do you find a reliable manufacturer? I know that this is a big question to so many designers that I've worked with before they came to me, and a lot of them told me that they didn't even know whether they were going to have their jewelry produced locally or abroad. So because this is such a big topic, we're going to break the video into two parts. The first part, which is what you're watching now, we're going to discuss the pros and cons of having your jewelry produced locally or abroad. And then the second topic, we'll discuss where and how to find a jewelry manufacturer, but more importantly, how to assess if that manufacturer can produce your particular designs. And stay tuned till the end of the video where I'll be sharing with you a few final tips in helping you select the right manufacturer for you. If it's your first time watching, hi, my name is Kim. I'm owner of Thai Design Distributors. We are a third generation family business, been around since 1975. I've got a headquarters in London and in the US, and my manufacturing plant is in Thailand, where we specialize in manufacturing high-end sterling silver and gold jewelry exclusively for designers. And if you haven't already, please watch my intro video where it just tells you a little bit more about my background and the purpose of this channel. So what I'm going to be sharing with you is an insight to what I have learned through a lot of my jewelry designers. And finding a jewelry manufacturer can be a struggle, I get it, but it doesn't need to be. And in regards to finding one, I think it depends firstly on, if you've decided whether you want to have your jewelry manufactured locally or abroad. So let's just explore these two options and the pros and cons of each. Going local has its many advantages. It's unlikely that there's going to be communication issues. So whether it's mistranslation or miscommunication, if they are local to you, so if it's in your same country, there might not be any or little time difference. So picking up the phone to call them will be easier. If they're local, you can even go and visit them. And I think this provides a lot of reassurance for a lot of designers, especially those new to the trade, where they're able to meet and greet the supplier, understand, how the jewelry manufacturing process works, but also, be able to just get regular updates on their sample development or their order. The other great thing of having your jewelry produced locally is that you can really use this as a marketing strategy. So what I mean by that is in your marketing, so your PR and online, etc., say that your jewelry is manufactured locally. So whether that's in, London, New York, USA, wherever you're from. Here's one insight for you. A lot of my customers, the majority of them, they don't tell their customers on their website, etc. They don't tell them that their jewelry is made by me or in Thailand. But what they will stress is that it is created or designed in London, New York, wherever they are. So if your jewelry is produced locally, really take advantage of using that for as a marketing strategy. Now, one obvious disadvantage here is if you have your jewelry made locally, is that it's likely going to be expensive. So your overheads are going to be that much more. The labor, the paying workers and their salary is going to be that bit more expensive. And that's just one disadvantage or setback why a lot of jewelry designers therefore decide to have their jewelry manufactured abroad. The other potential disadvantage as well is you need to check whether that manufacturer has the capability or the facility to manufacture your jewelry from start to finish. Because I know, let's say in the UK, that a lot of casting companies, for example, they might not be able to plate or set stones or laser engrave for you. They might only be able to do one part of that production process. If they have to outsource the production, then ultimately it kind of might make you feel that you don't have that full control. And of course, if that is the case and you're okay with it, also check whether that's going to affect your turnaround, especially if you have a campaign or a marketing launch that you're aiming for, you've got scheduled. Just make sure that that doesn't affect what you've got planned. So that's just a few things to bear in mind, guys. If I'm honest with you, I would say about 40-ish% of my customers, jewelry designers that come to me, a lot of them decided to have their jewelry made locally first. And this was just an opportunity for them to test the waters. They didn't mind paying a higher price, but it kind of helped them build the confidence before they decided that they were ready to have their jewelry produced abroad. So one example is I have a British designer where we met years ago, and we would meet year by year at exhibition shows in London. And they were very proud that their jewelry was made in Britain, and that was all over their marketing and online, etc., that it was British made. And they knew the nature of my business, and I had a plant in Thailand. They just weren't interested in ever having their jewelry made abroad. And then they called me up a couple of years later, and they just said, look, Kim, it's not sustainable for me to have my jewelry continuing to be produced locally in Britain. It's just getting too expensive. So they sent me samples for quotations, and we managed to do some business together. So let's look about the advantages of having your jewelry produced abroad or overseas. So it's going to hopefully be a lot less expensive if you have your jewelry made abroad. So labor is going to be cheaper, overheads are going to be lower, and they can obviously pass that on when it comes to producing your jewelry. Due to there being historically such a high demand for companies, especially in the Far East, manufacturing goods for so many companies around the world, a lot of them have implemented a really good cost-effective production process, meaning that including jewelry manufacturers, they will be able to do your production from start to finish. So they'll do everything in-house. And so, for example, my parents started off 45 years ago having a smaller business in Bangkok, and we weren't doing everything in-house. And because of us growing and we weren't able to keep up with the orders, we then decided to purposely build our manufacturing company now, where we're able to do everything in-house, having full control of jewelry production from start to finish. Again, just check with that jewelry manufacturer, but that's one advantage where I found that a lot of companies in Asia do offer that facility. Another potential advantage as well with working with jewelry manufacturers abroad is that they're likely to be efficient in handling and shipping goods to customers around the world. Again, check though how long they've been in business and where the majority of their customers are based. So let's say, for example, you're in the US and you contact a manufacturing company in Indonesia or Thailand, and they tell you that they usually send goods to their customers in Europe or in Australia, then you'd want to check to see how much the shipping or the duty charges are if they're sending goods to you, because they might not have experience in sending to that part of the world. And so this kind of leads me on to potential disadvantages. You'd want to check to see if there are any customs or duty taxes involved and how much that's going to be, because a lot of jewelry manufacturers, some of them include the duties and the shipping within the charges of the goods, and some of them separate them. So, for example, with my manufacturing plant, we include all our prices. So your shipping, duty, tax, air freight, everything from Thailand to the UK. But there are companies that won't, they separate them. So in effect, you might have a price of a unit of a piece, and it turns out to be very cheap. But then when you find out that the shipping costs are going to be that amount, well, sometimes it can be 2, 3, 4 times the price. So it's something definitely worth checking. The other potential disadvantage, and which you should check, is what are their minimum quantities or their minimum spend. Again, it all depends on their supplier. So 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't an issue. And in fact, it was normal for my manufacturing plant to produce 100 pieces per design, because we were supplying to wholesalers, not retailers and designers. They weren't coming to us then. But then over the years, we've grown and we're trying to adapt to the market and know that, there are designers or retailers that can't afford to spend, let's say, £2,000-3,000 as a minimum spend, or 100 pieces per design. So we've now adapted it to where we've now brought the minimum quantity down to say 20 pieces. So again, every manufacturer just works differently, but it's something that you should definitely check and ask before you send any designs to them. Another disadvantage is the distance, not just geographically, but perhaps time difference. So be prepared to have emails sent to you at funny times during the day or night. Geographically, are you able to visit them? Will they allow people to visit them? Again, it's really important for me to tell my customers that they need to find out as much information about their supplier as possible. So, for example, I had one customer where she wanted me to work with her in Fairmined silver. So my plant, we're licensed to work with Fairmined metal, and she wouldn't release any designs to me until she came to the manufacturing plant and checked out the environment, etc., before she was confident to give me her designs. So again, that distance could potentially be a drawback for you. And that leads me on to my next point, is the working conditions. That's something that is very personal to me. I'm not saying that working conditions is a disadvantage. What I'm saying is it's not as easy to check out the environment or working conditions, etc., of a manufacturing plant if they are all the way on the other side of the world. So again, you just need to check, what are the working environment, the employee compensations, etc. So one tip that I would suggest to you is create an Excel spreadsheet, have a checklist of all the questions that you want to ask a potential manufacturer, whether it's local or abroad. And remember that, first impressions count. So if they're responsive to you very quickly and they're very active in their responses, they're giving you the replies and full replies that you're looking for, then that's a great potential manufacturer that you could work with. Again, you kind of want to go with your gut instincts and intuition. You don't want to start chopping and changing manufacturers. You want to grow with them and have a good supporting, trusting relationship so that you can both grow your businesses together. I hope you found this video helpful. Please stay tuned to the part 2 where we'll be exploring where and how to find manufacturers. Please subscribe to the channel. Any questions you have, please just put it down in the comment section and I'll do my best to answer. For now, take care and I'll see you soon.